midnight. Okay, and until now I haven't got any submission from you yet. Okay,
You want electronic version or hard copy?
electronic is fine. Do you prepare a hard copy for me?
Yeah.
It's also okay. It's also okay if you give me the hard copy, but I also want you to submit the PDF file and Excel file. The PDF and Excel file.
Good to let us know.
To my email.
Okay. Good to know.
And
Got to be.
okay, so let's start with today's lecture, and I will only cover the things that I think is important for you to know, and I will also only cover the things that maybe the next
It's only a new.
the next subject would ask that you should know
And
that kind of topic.
expensive brand is
Okay.
very disappointing.
Okay, so today we are going to study lecture 5, okay? Last time we finished lecture 4, okay? Because in lecture 4, we cover everything except the exchange rate, okay? Because at the end of lecture 4, oh, and by the way, before we start with lecture 5, let's have a look at lecture 4 a little bit because last time we finished everything until this slide, okay? And I say that those slides, the slide from 16 to 22 will not be in the exam. But anyway, for the remaining slides, I think I have already covered many times in this course. Okay, for example, in this slide, okay, just the slide that explain to you the return from equity investment come from two factors. The first one is the capital gain, and the second one is the dividend yield. Okay, these are the things that you already know. Okay, and at the same time, if you invest in the fixed income, the return, okay, is going to be the capital gain and the interest yield as well. Okay, and you also know that the yield curve will be upward sloping. Okay, that if you have a longer time to maturities, then you are going to have a higher yield to maturity as well. And actually, the main reason that explain a higher yield to maturity comes from the fact that in the long term, investors are worried about inflation, right? And then therefore, when they would like to ask for some interest rate, that interest rate needs to be able to cover inflation expectation in the long term. Okay. Also, the yield depends on the default risk. Okay, and default risks tend to be related to the time to maturity as well. Okay, and the last one is the liquidity risk, because if you invest in a long-term bond, okay, long-term bond tend to have low liquidities. No one wants to buy a bond that have a really long maturities. Okay, therefore, because of these risk factors, the yield to maturity of long-term bond will be greater than short-term bond. Okay, so I just want to summarize something because this can be in the exam as well. Okay, but anyway, most of the contents I have just taught is the thing that I used to talk many times. Okay, and in this slide, okay, I also would like to give you the fact that the yield curve can change from time to time. Okay, sometimes the yield curve is upward sloping, sometimes the yield curve will be less upward, and sometimes the yield curve can be flat. Okay, depending on the situation. Okay, and actually when we learn about the bond valuation, I also used to talk about the inverted yield curve, right? The inverted yield curve, I used to talk to you the fact that the yield on long-term bond sometimes is less than the yield on short-term bond, right? Are you okay? Okay. And that is called inverted yield curve, and inverted yield curve will be the curve that predict or maybe is the leading indicator of the crisis that is going to come in the future, something like that, right? I used to talk about it in the bond valuation lecture. Okay, so it's the same thing that as I put it here in this slide. And actually, if you look at the Bloomberg news last night, you will see the news about the inverted yield curve. Because even though we have some talk about Xi Jinping and Donald Trump about the stop of trade war and equity market increased a lot, but last night the yield curve are flattening. Okay, or in other words, the yield of short-term bond increasing while the yield on long-term bond drop. Okay, so sometimes is leading to the inverted yield curve, and everyone is looking at it whether the crisis is going to come next year or not. Okay, so this is something I also would like you to know. Then now let's talk about lecture 5. Lecture 5 will be about risk. Okay, I would like you to understand the concept of risk. Okay, because in lecture 4 you understand the concept of return. Okay, how to calculate return, what are the different types of return, but then you also learn that return will be increased if there are higher risk factors. Therefore, the question we would like to ask is what represents risk? Okay, what represents risk? Now, I think everyone knows that treasury bills has a lower risk than common stock, and I think everyone can maybe know that government bond risk is higher than treasury bill, corporate bond risk is higher than government bonds. Okay, and actually, if we talk about the risk in the mathematical terms, okay, risk will normally be represented by the variance, okay, or standard deviation. Okay, and I don't want you to be nervous about this term, variance or standard deviation. Okay, because variance or standard deviation is just the term that reflects the variation of the outcome. Okay, the outcome. Let's say sometimes you expect that your boyfriend may have an affair with someone, okay, that you don't know. Then that is your expectation, right? Then you need to form your expectation, and then when you form your expectation, that expectation will not really be represented by this distribution curve. Okay, let's say, okay, I think there might be some probability that my boyfriend will have a new girl. And there can also be some probability that my boyfriend doesn't have anyone. Or there might be some probability that my boyfriend actually have more than one girl. Maybe 2 girls, 3 girls, and 4 girls in this house, something like that. Okay? So everyone has the probability of the outcome. Okay? Therefore, if you are not sure about your boyfriends, the distribution will be Y, right? Okay, the distribution will be Y. But if you are definitely sure that your boyfriend is having an affair with 2 girls, then your distribution will be like this, right? 2 girls. Okay? It means that you are pretty sure that your boyfriend have the other 2 girls. Okay? So distribution represents your uncertainty in expectation. Okay? And standard deviation or variance represent the width of this distribution. Okay? If variance is high, distribution will be 1. And then therefore, you are uncertain about the future outcome. But if you are pretty sure about some some outcome, then your standard deviation will be very, very small. Okay? So, in finance, we use standard deviation to represent the risk of your investment. Because if you invest in something, you are not sure whether you are going to get a positive return or negative return. Okay? So, if the standard deviation is high, then it means the risk will be high. Or it means that the return can be a very large positive, or it can be a very negative number. Okay, so maybe in this slide, let's have a look on this slide. Okay, you see that there is the movement of the stock index. Okay, let's say this is the movement of the stock index. Okay, some stock index, the FTSE or share index. Okay, and then you calculate the return each day. So the return each day can be positive, negative, positive, negative, we don't know, or can be positive, 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 negative, negative, we don't know. So that is why the return of this line is just like this. Okay, but anyway, if you find the average return need to be positive. Okay, because we already said that the expected return of every security need to be positive, right? Okay, if you know that some security is going to provide negative return, then you are not going to invest in that securities. Therefore, historically, we also would expect that the average return will be positive. It can be maybe a very large positive, or it can be a really small positive, but the average one may not be largely different from zero, but it depends. Okay, the fact that you don't see the average return to be largely different from zero is because this return is the daily return, the return in one day. Okay, so the movement of the index in one day may not be high. Okay, it can be just 1% at most or 2% at most. Okay, now if we plot the histogram of this return, then we have this kind of graph. Someday the return is negative 16%. Sometimes the return is 2%. Sometimes the return is 8%. Sometimes the return is 16%. We don't know. But that is the return of the index in a day. Okay, for a certain day. Therefore, we count the number of days. Okay, we count the number of days that the index are in within range of return. So we have this histogram, and then you will see that the histogram have some distribution. Okay, but that distribution is not a normal distribution, because I also plot the black line here, which represent a normal distribution. Okay, a normal distribution. But anyway, in finance, we normally assume that the return distribution is normal. Okay, because it's easy. Okay, because we have some solid theory to deal with the normal distribution. But we also know that in the real world, the distribution of return is not that normal. Okay, there are some risks that is different from the normal distribution. Because based on the normal distribution, you assume that the probabilities that you are going to have a very extreme movement will be zero, right? The probability of extreme movement will be zero, right? But in the real world, there are some probabilities. In the real world, there are some probability of extreme movements. Okay, so this is something that does not or are not captured by the normal distribution. And in the real world, we also see that the probability of occurring the return on this area and the return on this area is lower than normal distribution. And the probability of having the return at the middle tends to be greater than the normal distribution. There is some characteristic that we normally have. But anyway, I also want you to know that at the end, we will only use standard deviation to represent risk, and the standard deviation is just this one. Standard deviation measures the distance away from the mean. Okay? If the standard deviation is high, therefore it means that your distribution will be very wide, and therefore it means that your return can be large positive or can be large negative. But if standard deviation is very small, then you are pretty sure that the return will be in a certain range. Okay? So in finance, we use standard deviation of return to represent the risk of investment. Therefore, we normally collect the price data of many securities, and then we calculate the returns of that price data, and then we find average, then we find standard deviation, then we will know what is the risk of that securities. Okay? Do you have any question? Do you have any question? Okay, and I am pretty sure that all of you have already learned about distribution, standard deviation in the free course, right? Okay, and that is why the program is trying to arrange the subject for you, but then it's your problem now that you need to understand what you have learned. Okay, for example, in my course, I think some of the group have got problem about understanding the financial statement, but actually before you learn my course, you also learn the course in accounting, right? Okay, the basic accounting, which I think sometimes maybe you forget all it. But anyway, so I just want you to know that hey, you come to learn MBA, so please make your time as useful as possible. Okay, but anyway, okay, now we know risk is measured by standard deviation, and then when we invest in any kind of securities, we have some expected return. Okay, so this is the expected return. The return you expect to receive from your investment. And then if I ask you whether you want to prefer C or A, which one do you prefer, C and A? Which asset do you want to invest, C and A? C, right? Because asset C gives the same expected return as asset A, but asset C has much lower risk. Therefore, the stupid person will choose asset A, but the smart person will choose asset C. Okay, because C has got the same expected return as A, but with much lower risk. Okay, in the same time, B and A. If you consider B and A, you will always choose which one? B, right? Because B has got a higher return than A, even though it has the same risk. Okay, so everyone can choose between C, A, or between A, B, and A. But when it comes to the decision to choose between between B and C, then it is now difficult. Okay, it depends on the perception of each investor. Okay. But anyway, the fact that you choose C to A comes from the fact that you want low risk. Okay, and the fact that you choose B to A comes from the fact that you want higher return. Okay, you prefer something that has a lowest risk, and you prefer something that has the highest high return in the same time. Therefore, you need to understand about this risk-return trade-off. Okay, but what we normally see in, let's say, let's jump to slide 9. But what we normally have the risk return for the securities, we normally see that the small stock has a very high risk and high return. Large company stock has a lower risk but also lower return. Okay, corporate bond, lower risk and lower return. Treasury bill, lower risk and lower return. Okay, so now in the real world, securities, the return of the securities or financial assets tend to be like this. Okay, higher risk, higher return, but then which one are you going to invest? Okay, because this also have higher return, even though you have high risk. Therefore, we need to come up with some concept, okay, to choose which one to invest, which is the indifference curve concept. Okay, have you learned about indifference curve before? Economics? No? Okay, so the indifference curve is the curve that represents the same utilities. The same utilities. Is the fact that, let's say, if you have asset P and asset Q, okay, asset P have lower risk and lower return, asset Q higher risk, higher return, but you feel the same when you invest in asset P or in asset Q. It means you are indifferent, okay? You are equally happy to invest in P or Q. Okay, that is what the indifference curve tells you. The indifference curve tells you that you have the same utilities, okay, in investing P or Q. Okay, you have the same utilities. And I think everyone have the curve of utility like this. Okay, why? Because if you ask yourself, if you are offered by something that is quite low risk, then you may, okay, I am okay if that low risk provide you with the low return. And if someone offer you with a high risk security, then maybe you feel okay, if that security provide a very high return, right? So, and the level of happiness may be the same, right? Investing in those kind of assets. Therefore, the utility curve tend to be on the upward trend, right? It tends to be on the upward trend. But anyway, I also would like to ask you that the indifference curve, everyone agree that it should be upward trend, right? Because you need to ask yourself. Do you agree? Okay. Or someone say that if this is return, if this is risk, do you think the indifference curve will be like this? Higher risk, lower return? Ask yourself. Okay. If not, then maybe you want the utility curve to be like this, right? Higher risk, higher return. And then you are equally happy with low risk and low return, right? But anyway, the next question that you also need to ask is whether that upward trend is going to be the linear line or convex line or concave line, because these three lines also are sloping, okay? And it's also in the uptrend. Okay, we know that higher risk, higher return, we are equally happy, but when it comes to the trend, we have three choices. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, whether you think this is going to be like what represent in your case, or this one or this one. Okay, then you have A, B, and C. Okay, A, B, and C line. And then you need to ask yourself, which line you think represent you? Okay. Do you think A represent you? A. The concave line, that if risk is higher, then you want higher return. It's also curve A. But curve A means that if risk is even higher, the amount of additional return you want from that risk become lower. Right? If you look at curve A. Do you think this represents you? Maybe no, right? Because this curve is the fact that, okay, if risk increase a lot, but the return you want increase by a little bit. Okay, so this may not be you. Okay. And what about B and C? And what about B and C? Okay, let's say if we look at B. B means that the curve will be linear. There will be a line here, so a higher risk, higher return. It can be. B can be possible. Okay, if you think that, okay, I want a higher return to compensate against risk, but the amount of higher return and risk need to be the same each period. But anyway, based on the survey to many people, to many investors, it tends to be that people tend to have line C here, because you can ask yourself, okay, if sometimes if the risk is not that high, if the risk is in the low range, you don't want much return to compensate against risk if that risk level is in the low level. Okay. But if risk increase further, then you feel, hey, I want more return. Okay, I want more return. But when risk increase over some threshold, I think everyone have this threshold in their life. Okay, if risk is greater than your threshold, then you feel nervous, you sweat, and then you want to die, or maybe you want to maybe stay at home all day or all night, something like that. Okay, so the return that you want when the risk pass the threshold will jump a lot, right? I think everyone like this. I don't know. Do you like this? Are you like this? I don't know. But I think this is what happened to everyone. Okay? When everything is just like when you ask yourself if you invest in a stock, and then when stock drop by a little bit, you feel okay. So it means that's the drop for 1 day, 2 days, or 1 week. I am okay. I don't feel anything. But when stock drop by 20%, then you start to feel nervous. I can't tolerate it anymore. And if the next day stock drop by 30%, then you feel you want to die. Then you feel I can't tolerate anymore, and then I want to sell that stock. And when I sell that stock, I can get rid of my pain, right? You feel like that. That is why people sell the stock at the bottom all the time. Because when you sell at the bottom, you don't care about financial return. You care about your own feeling. You want to get rid of your bad feeling. And you want to be able to sleep. Okay, that is why you decide to just cut it off. Okay, so the return and risk for everyone should be the convex curve like this. The convex curve like this. Okay, it will jump a lot when the risk is higher than some threshold. Therefore, the indifference curve will be like this. Now, if you have the indifference curve like this, then I would like to ask you another thing. Let's say we have 3 indifference curves, A, B, and C. Which curve provide a higher utility to you? Which curve provide a higher utility to you? A. Okay? A gives you a higher utility compared to B, right? Because for any risk level, A can give a higher return than B, right? So you are happier if you can find some security here, because that security is on the indifferent line that make you happier than the other line. Okay? So I also want you to know the other thing is that indifference curve can be many lines. It depends on your level of happiness. Okay? Okay? The level of happiness is different from different situation. Okay? If you think, hey, the security is like this, then I am okay. So I am happy at that level. But if you find another security that is on a higher indifference curve, then you feel happier. Something like that. Okay, so indifference curve for a single investor has many lines. Okay, just like you have many feelings, you have many levels of happiness. Okay, so if you have many lines, then now it's time that you can choose which security you prefer. Which security you prefer? Let's say if you have maybe A, B, C, and D, securities available in that market. Let's say this may be some small stock, this can be some large stock, this can be some small stock, this can be another large stock. Okay, and then you know the risk of that stock. You also know the expected return of that stock. So let's say we have A, B, C, D. Which security will provide you the highest happiness? Which one? A, B, C, and D. Which one will give you the highest level of happiness? B, right? In this case, it's going to be B. Because even though B has a lower return than A, but B has a much lower risk than A, and B is on the higher indifference curve. Okay? So that is how you make decision. Okay? What I teach you here in this slide is the things that we try to do some math on your brain. Okay? When you make some decision, we try to make your subjective decision into some concrete idea. Okay? About selecting the decision. Okay? About some decision that you want to make. Okay? And then the next thing you have to ask yourself, do you know your own life? Do you know your own life? Yes or no? No, right? Because it's your feeling. Is this difficult for any person to create this line in their head? Okay, but anyway, in academic, we also try to map this line. Okay, and we also would like to find some methodology to measure this line. Okay, and I think if in the future we can measure this line for anyone in the world or anyone in the country, then that information is very important for policy makers. Okay, because they can create some policy that makes some proportion of population to feel very happy, while the other population will also feel okay. That is okay. And I also would like to ask you another thing. Let's say the black line of indifference curve is the line for one person, and let's say we have another line, the red line, and let's say the red line is like this. Okay, you have two persons, black line and red line. Okay, I would like to ask you, which person has a higher degree of risk aversion? Okay. Which person has a higher degree of risk aversion? The degree that they are really worried about risk. Which person? Black or red? Black, right? Black line represents a person that have a higher degree of risk aversion, because when risk is here, they want a higher return compared to risk is there, right? Why the red line, when risk is there or when risk is there, the level of return is just nearly the same. Okay, so the red line represents a person that like to invest in a risky way. Why the black line represents the other person that would like to invest in a safer way. Okay? Now, because we have two persons, two different indifference curve, and you will see, if you are a red person, which security do you choose? Which security do you choose? If you are a red person, A, B, C, D. Which one? A. Because A is on the line that is higher than B, right? Here you see, we have two persons, and these two persons choose different stocks. Okay, because they have different curves. Okay, so don't blame your wife or your husband why you buy that stock. Okay, because that stock make me happy. Okay, even though that stock doesn't make you happy, but that stock make you happy. Okay, so different person have different curve, and because of different curve, then you choose different decisions. Okay, that's also I want you to know. Okay. Okay, but actually, if you talk about the indifference curve, we also know that in theory, the indifference curve can have 3 shapes. Okay, it can be upward trend, it can be downward trend, or it can be horizontal line. Let's say this is risk, this is return, expected return. Okay, but I say that most people indifference curve will be like the A curve, right? B curve is something that we don't normally observe in people, but there might be a very, very small group of people that have the B line. Okay, the B curve is for a person that they want to invest in a risky asset, and when the asset has a higher risk, they want a lower return. Okay, there may be someone that want that kind of things, but that's a very, very few. Okay, so it's the fact that when you invest in some risky things, you earn something that cannot be counted as a financial return. Okay, maybe that thing is something. Okay, my adrenaline flow over my body, and then I feel really happy. Okay, so that happiness can compensate against financial return, right? So someone will be like that. And curve C, we may see someone that act like curve C. Okay, we may see someone that act like curve C. In this case, it's the fact that you don't care about risk. High risk or low risk, we also want the same return. There may be someone like that. Okay. It's the person that don't care anything. Okay, they just follow the flow of everyone. There might be someone like that, you know. But anyway, on average, more than 50% of people in this world, okay, we have the curve like this one. Okay, the A curve. Okay. Okay, now we also already talked about that. And this is another way to write about the utility curve, okay? But in this case, we write the utility function according to the level of happiness with respect to the level of wealth, okay? This is not about risk and return. This is about happiness and wealth, okay? Or utility and wealth, okay? If you have a higher wealth, then you are happier, okay? Everyone agree? Higher wealth, higher happiness. But do you agree that when you have a greater wealth, your happiness increase, but increase at a lower rate? Okay, do you agree? Okay. For example, if you don't have anything, then when you have 100 baht, you feel really happy. Okay, but if you have maybe 10 million baht, okay, your happiness is here. But if you have maybe 15 million baht, the increase of happiness is a little bit. Okay, so this is what people normally be. Okay, utility increase with wealth, but increase at a lower rate. Okay, so if you understand that you are like this curve, then don't work too much. Okay, because if you work too much, you would like to maybe to be a billionaire, something like that. But at the end of the day, you will feel that being the billionaire has the same utility as a millionaire. So what is the reason why you need to work a lot to just be a billionaire? Okay. So anyway, so you just need to understand this part as well. Okay, and then that happens to everyone, and then that is why every time when you see a rich person have a talk or have a presentation, most rich people will normally say, don't try to be like me. I work hard. okay, and then at the end also don't want anything, okay. But if you cannot reach that level, then you still want to reach that level, okay. But anyway, you also need to know this fact, okay, because we will only want some wealth if that wealth can cover all the expense you need. But the wealth that is greater than that level is something that maybe doesn't make you happier. Okay, so this happens to everyone. Okay. Now, if you understand about risk, then the next topic that you would need to know is the diversification. Diversification is the fact that we want to reduce risk. We want to reduce risk as much as possible. But there is one main belief that everyone may mistakenly have some opinion about the diversification, because most people will feel that diversification reduces risk, and when you reduce risk you have lower return. Most people think it this way, and then therefore when you think it this way, you will say diversification is not the thing we want, right? Because some person may say, hey, I don't want to reduce risk, but I want to get as much return as possible. I don't care about risk. And you may have heard of someone that, hey, I don't want to invest 10 stock. Why do we need to invest in stock? Because invest in 10 stock, you may have a very low return. If you invest in stock, you should invest for just maybe 5 stock or 1 stock, okay? Because that will give you a highest return. So most people will think about the diversification that way, but that is the wrong, okay? It's the wrong argument about diversification. Because what diversification actually means is that we will try to maximize return at a given level of risk. Diversification means we will try to maximize return at a given level of risk. Okay, so we are okay if you want to have that risk, but we will try to find a portfolio that have the same risk as what you want, and that portfolio will give you the highest return. Okay, so this is the concept of diversification. So diversification is not about reduce risk and reduce return. No, diversification is about maximize return at a given level of risk. Okay? Okay? So diversification is not about reduced return. Diversification can give you the same return but at a much lower level of risk. Okay? That is a clever way when we use diversification. And diversification comes from the fact that different assets may move in a different direction. Okay? When asset move up, the other asset may move down. When this asset move down, the other asset move up. Okay, so sometimes it move in a different direction. And when it move in a different direction, then these two assets can be used to hedge against each other, right? Okay, when one down, the other up. When one up, the other down. Okay, it hedge against each other. Okay, so if one down, the other up, and one down. Anyway, so that correlation will be equal to -1. Okay, -1 correlation coefficient means that two assets move in the opposite direction and it also move in the same magnitude. Okay, -1 correlation means that the asset need to move in the opposite direction and also need to move with the same magnitude. Okay, for example, if I show you some example here in the Excel, let's say we have maybe some asset that maybe move up by 1, the other asset will move down by 1. And when this asset move down by 2, the other asset move up by 2. If this asset move up by 2, the other asset also move down by 2. If the asset move up by 0.5, the other asset move down by 0.5. Okay, so if you have these two assets, asset B and asset A, and the movement is in the opposite direction all the time, and the magnitude of movement is the same, okay? And when you find correlation in Excel, we have correl function, okay? And correl function you just drag here, and then you just drag the other things, the other one, then enter. You have the correlation coefficient equal to -1. So this is a perfectly negative correlation between that two assets or between that two situations. Okay. So correlation is the measurement when you would like to determine the movement of situation of two situations. Okay. We cannot find correlation among three assets. We can only find correlation of a pair. Okay, a pair. We cannot find 3 assets, 4 assets, or 5 assets. No, we don't know about that correlation among 5 assets. But when we would like to find correlation, we will just find a pair. Okay. Now, let's say that if instead of moving down by 1, asset B moving down by 0.9, you see that the magnitude is not the same. And if you click enter, you will see the correlation coefficient tends to be higher than -1, right? Okay. And if the movement is maybe unpredictable, okay? If movement is unpredictable, you see, when movement is unpredictable, the correlation move toward 0, okay? Because sometimes when asset A move up, asset B doesn't move anything. Sometimes when asset A move down, asset B move up. Sometimes when asset A move up, asset B move up. Okay? How can we predict what is going to be the future outcome when A move? Okay? So if the movement is unpredictable like this, the correlation will move towards 0. Okay? Again, at the same time, if movement are completely in the same direction and in the same magnitude, then your correlation will approach 1 as well. Okay, so correlation coefficient is the value between -1 and 1. Okay, you have -1 and 1. 0 correlation means that two assets or two situations are unrelated to each other. Okay, if you have a -1, it means that two situations are negatively related to each other. But if the correlation is positive, then we say that two situations are positively correlated to each other, something like that. Okay, so I hope you understand about correlation. Okay, correlation is the measurement between -1 and 1. Okay, between -1 and 1. And the correlation can be 0, can be 0.5, can be 0.1. It can be anything. Therefore, if you would like to reduce the risk of your portfolio, you need to invest in the stock that move in the opposite direction as the stock you have already invested, right? Okay, to reduce the risk of your portfolio. Okay. Now, before we go on to talk about the portfolio risk and portfolio return, I also want you to understand this idea, which is the fact that everyone prefers a higher return and everyone wants a lower risk. Okay, these are the two characteristics of every person when you make decision. And you also need to know another thing, which is called covariance. Covariance is the variance, but it is the variance between two assets. Okay, covariance is the variance of two assets. And actually, I think everyone knows that the variance is equal to sigma square, right? Have you learned about this? Yes, you know standard deviation, you know variance. Okay? And I think this equation is in the elementary school of any school in the world. Okay, I definitely sure. So even though you don't learn in the pre-course, you have learned it sometime in your life. Okay, so variance is the standard deviation square, right? Okay, everyone used to learn about this. But anyway, what the things I would like to show you is that covariance is not something new. Covariance is just variance. But when we talk about variance and when we say that variance is equal to sigma square, come from the fact that because let's say this is the standard deviation of asset A, okay, just come from the fact that you have the standard deviation of asset A multiplied by the standard deviation of asset A and then multiplied by the correlation between asset A and A. Okay? This is the equation for covariance. Let's say you would like to find covariance of asset A and A. But anyway, in the real world, we don't have covariance of asset A and A. So this is just an example that I want to show you that if you want to find covariance between A and A, then it means you have sigma A multiplied by sigma A multiplied by correlation coefficient between A and A, right? But because A and A is the same person, right? When A move up, A also move up. When A move down, A also move down. So the correlation coefficient is equal to 1. Okay, and then therefore it means that covariance of A is just variance of A, and then that's why we say sigma A squared, right? So I want you to know that variance that is equal to sigma A squared actually comes from covariance of the same things. Okay, so covariance is not a new formula. Covariance is just the sigma of one asset multiplied by sigma of the other asset and then multiplied by the correlation between those assets. Okay, so now we have covariance, we have variance. And why do I need to talk about covariance and variance? Because you have already understood that if you want to reduce the risk of your portfolio, you need to invest in the stock that move in the opposite direction, or maybe you invest in the stock that are not correlated to each other, right? So sometimes you want to invest in the stock that have a correlation coefficient between -1 and 0, right? If you want to reduce the risk of your portfolio. And because in the first slide of this lecture, I say that when you measure risk by standard deviation. And standard deviation is the term that represents the width of the distribution, right? Okay. So now when it comes to the situation that we want to form a portfolio, we have to ask ourselves, what is the portfolio that will give you the highest return and also lowest risk? Okay, so we need to find the return of your portfolio. Then the final goal that we want to find is that we want to find the return of your portfolio and we want to find the standard deviation or risk of your portfolio. Okay? It becomes difficult because now we introduce mathematics for you. We don't just say about the concept. Okay? Everyone knows that you want low risk, high return. And then now we want to know how can we form a portfolio that will give you the highest return and lowest risk. Okay? Are you okay? If you are not okay, so please ask me which level of the content that you don't understand. you have risk. We measure risk with standard deviation. Standard deviation represent the distribution of your future outcome. If standard deviation is high, then it means there are some high risks. Okay, so let's say we have asset A. Let's say asset A has the expected return. Let's say the expected return of asset A is equal to 2% per year. Okay, and let's say that the standard deviation of asset A is equal to 5% per year. So what does it mean? It means that when you invest in this asset, on average, you will earn 2%. But there might be some situation that, because the sigma is equal to 5%, there might be some situation that your return can be 7%. There might be some situation that your return can be 9%. There might be some situation that your return can be 5%. There are also some situation that your return can be 0%. There are also some situation that your return can be negative 5%. I don't know. But anyway, it depends on the width, right? Standard deviation. This is what standard deviation stands for. Standard deviation gives you what is the level of risk. Okay, let's say this is asset A. Now, let's suppose that you have another asset B, and let's say that the return of asset B is the same as asset A, 2% per year, but sigma B is equal to 2%. Okay, so the distribution of asset B will be like this. It has the same expected return as A, but the standard deviation is lower because here the standard deviation is just 2%. Okay, while A, the standard deviation is 5%. Okay, you see? So standard deviation gives you what is the width of your distribution. Okay, standard deviation is just the number that you can add or you can subtract from the mean. Okay, so don't be confused about standard deviation and don't feel worried. Okay, I think the thing that makes you don't understand is that you fear about the math. No, please maybe don't fear about it. And it's easy. This one 2%. Okay, I think okay. On average, the return is 2%. Okay, we know. But because the standard deviation is 2%, therefore it means that sometimes your return can be 4%, sometimes your return can be minus 2%, and then that will be 0%, something like that, right? Okay, that is the characteristic of the movement of asset B. While A, the movement can be anything. Okay, it's wider. Okay, that is how standard deviation and expected return represent the view of your asset in the future. That's all. Okay. Now let's say we have two assets. Let's say we are thinking that we are going to invest in two stocks. Let's say we come up with two stocks. Let's say that two stock is CPF. Let's say we have CPF. And let's say we have PTT. Okay. So what you will have is that you will have the expected return of CPF. Let's say you have expected return. You also have sigma or SD. Let's say I say SD. Standard deviation of return. Okay, let's say you have expected return. You have SD. And let's say that CPF is the stock, then you expect that it may earn maybe 5% per year in the future. And then you also expect that PTT is the stock that might give you maybe 7% in the future. Okay, and you also collect the data in the past and then you know the movement of the stock, and let's say that CPF stock has got the standard deviation of maybe around 4%, while PTT stock has a standard deviation equal to maybe around, I don't know, maybe around 8%, let's say. So PTT has a higher risk and higher return. CPF, lower risk, lower return. Okay? So this is the stock you have, or sometimes you can plot it in the graph like this, expected return and sigma standard deviation. So let's say CPF is here 4% and the return is here 5%. So this is CPF. And let's say you also have another stock, PTT 8% here standard deviation, and then you have 7% as the return. So here, let's say this is 7%. This is PTT. Okay? Now, the thing is that if you invest 100%, in CPF, your portfolio will be like CPF, right? Okay, because you invest 100% in CPF, then your portfolio is equal to CPF. And if you invest 100% in PTT, your portfolio will be at that point, right? Okay? Now, then we also want to know, hey, what if we combine CPF and PTT together into our portfolio? What is going to be the return of our portfolio, and what is going to be the standard deviation of our portfolio? Okay. Do you follow me? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Yes. Then we want to find RP. We want to find sigma P when we come up with two assets. Okay? And let's say we have WA, WB, Okay. So WA, WB represent the proportion you invest in A, the percentage you invest in B, right? So in this case, it may be CPF and portfolio, right? Now, the summation of W will be equal to what? Summation of W will be equal to 1, right? Because that is the percentage you invest, right? And 100% is 1, right? Okay? And then now, if you want to find the return of your portfolio, it's quite easy because the return of your portfolio will be equal to WA RA plus WB RB. Okay? It's the percentage you invest in A multiplied by return A. Percentage you invest in B multiplied by RB. Okay? I think everyone can intuitively understand this equation. Okay? It's just the weighted average of return. Okay? It's just like the WACC that you calculate in the stock, right? WACC is the weighted average of return between bond and between stock, right? Okay, now this is the average weight of return of your portfolio. Okay, because your portfolio consists of two stocks, okay, A and B. Are you okay? Now, what about sigma P? How can we find the sigma P of your portfolio? Sigma P of your portfolio can be weight of sigma, like this. Weight of sigma. The weight between sigma A, the weight between sigma B. Let's say this is B, this is A. Can it be like this? I don't know. It can be or it can be not. But anyway, the statistician prove that it's not this one. You can only use this one if you do the square. If you do the square. It means that you can only find the variance of your portfolio and that will be equal to this whole term square. Okay. Are you okay? So it needs to be this one square and that whole term square. Okay. Okay, so now let's write sigma p square. Okay, so we have to find the variance of polynomial. Why it's quite difficult like this? Okay, so it's not linear, just like the return. You need to make square, and when you make square, can you do square of this? Yes or no? Yes, you have learned it in the elementary school. Let's say you have a plus b square. What you have got? You have a square plus b square plus ab plus ab, something like that, right? Yeah, ab and ab is the two ab. Okay. So in this case, when you do the square, you also have WA square, sigma A square. You also have WB square, sigma B square. But don't forget that when you have square like this is the square of the same asset, and therefore this is the variance of that asset. Okay, but when you have A, B, and B, A, you have WA, WB, and then you have sigma A, you have sigma B, right? You may think at first that it will be just like that. But wait a minute, it's not that. Because when you have A and B together, that is called covariant. And when you have covariant, it means that you need extra term, low AB, the correlation coefficient between that two assets. Okay? And then you also have the other term, which is WB, WA, sigma B, sigma A, and rho BA. Okay? Now, what you have is that sigma P, or the standard deviation of our polynomial will be equal to square root of WA square, sigma A square, plus sigma WB square. Okay, and not erase it. Okay. Okay, we have WB square, sigma B square, and then part 2 WA, WB, sigma A, sigma B, rho AB. Okay? You okay? This is how you find the standard deviation of your portfolio. Okay? This is how you find the standard deviation of your portfolio. You can use this same logic if you have 3 assets A, B, C. If you have 3 assets, what is going to be the variance of your portfolio? Can you guess? Can you guess? It's going to be sigma A square, WA square, sigma A square, plus WB square, sigma B square, plus WC square, sigma C square, plus 2WA, WB, sigma A, sigma B, rho AB, plus 2WB, WC, sigma B, sigma BC, rho BC, plus 2WA, WC. Okay. Just would like to make you laugh. Okay? And I just would like you to feel that it's not that difficult. And then WA, WC, sigma A, sigma C, rho AC. Do you know why we have these 3 terms? Because now we have 3 assets, right? And then if you are going to make a pair of these three assets. There can be three pairs. Okay? It can be AB, AC, or BC. Okay? And the pair we need to multiply by 2 because when you have pair, you can AB or BA, BC or CB, and AC or CA, right? So that is why you have 2, 2, 2. And then you also have square, square, square. Okay. This is the case when you have 3 assets. Okay? Again, if you have sigma p square of A, B, C, and D, okay, then you are going to have the term here 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You have the 4 term, right? And what about the 2 plus 2 something plus 2 something? How many terms that you are going to have here? If you have 4 assets, how many terms? How many terms? How many pairs you can make up from these 4 assets? You can have A, B, A, C, A, D, B, C, B, D, C, D. Then you have 6 pairs. Okay, you have 6 pairs. Then you are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Are you okay? So this is how to find the portfolio, the risk of the portfolio. Okay, this is how to find the risk of the portfolio. Do you understand? And if you understand, all these formula will not be given in the exam. Okay, because you understand, you don't need to memorize. Okay, it's already embedded very deeply in your brain. You know? Okay, are you okay? So this is how to find the risk of your portfolio. It depends on the standard deviation or risk of each asset. Okay, it depends on the standard deviation of risk of each asset. Okay. Now let me go back to our let me put it here. Then before the break, I want you to find sigma p of the portfolio that consists of CPF. You invest in CPF. WCPF will be equal to maybe 10%. W PTT will be equal to 90%. And let's say that these two stocks has a correlation between CPF and PTT. Okay, let's say the correlation is equal to minus 0.5. Let's say the correlation coefficient between CPF and PTT is equal to 0.5 minus 0.5. And then let's say you have this information, and then let's say that your investment is 10% CPF and 90% PTT. So far, what is the standard deviation of your portfolio? Okay, now please do. Right now. I want to buy this portfolio. You need to give me the solution before you can have a break, okay? Portfolio return and portfolio SD. What is the popular return? What is that? Can you find popular return? Tell me there. 6.8. Let's see. Ta-da! Nah, you pass 6.8. Same.
ตอนหลังยังไม่ได้บอกเลย
What is the portfolio standard deviation of portfolio risk? What is that? Can anyone tell me? You have already spent 8 minutes. 4.06%. Someone say that it is 4.06%. Do you have other answers? Huh? 0.07, which is equal to 7%. 7%. Are there any other answers? Square root of W square. W square multiplied by multiplied by SD square plus the W square multiplied by SD square plus 2 multiplied by W multiplied by W multiplied by SD multiplied by SD and multiplied by rho. Okay? And then close it. Then let me fix the cell. Okay, let me fix the cell. I will fix the cell according to the SD. And okay, I click enter. Ta-da! Wow, you get 7%. Okay, so the SD of the portfolio is equal to 7%. Okay. So it's not that difficult, okay? You spend 8 minutes and then you get the result. Then in the exam, they may ask you to find the portfolio SD for 3 assets or 4 assets. And because you have already learned the concept of how to get the portfolio risk for 3 assets, for 4 assets, and so on. Okay. So now, because we already know how to find the portfolio SD and portfolio return, right? Okay. So what I write here is the case that the possibility that we can allocate our money into 100% CPF or into 100% PDT or into 50-50. It can be any combination, right? In the real world. Then let's say that if we create the portfolio return according to these possibilities. Okay. So our portfolio can invest 100% in CPF and then our return will be 5% and SD will be 4%, right? And we can also invest 100% in PPT, then we get 7% and 8%, right? Okay, are you okay? And we can also have the other return and portfolio risk, right? Now, the next question I want to ask you is that which portfolio will you choose? Which portfolio will you choose? I give you maybe some 3 minutes. And when you come up with your solution, you need to give me some reason to back up your decision, okay?
How do you get this one? Oh. So you find this innermost investigate.
Can we just have a look at the or we have to look?
I have no idea. Oh.
This is normally the problem in your life. Okay?
Yeah, right.
Let's say you are going to choose between 2 girls you are going to marry. Okay. CPF is maybe a very nice woman, but not that too much, but not that too beautiful. Okay. But she take care of you very well. While the other woman, her shape is just like maybe some model, that you really like, okay? But she cannot cook, she cannot do anything for you, and she demands something from you, okay? So you just have to choose. Okay. So can you come up with your solution? Let's say, can anyone maybe say what you choose? Just shout it out. 60-40. Someone say that they will choose 60-40. And what is the reason why you choose 60-40?
Well, the return is high enough with
Mhm. When you mean the return is high compared to the SD, how can you come up with this solution? Because this one is also high, 5.6 and 2.6. How can you make a conclusion that you will choose 60 and 40? What is happen in your brain? No. Want to know. Why don't you choose 5.6 and 2.6?
It's like the SD only increased by like 0.26, which is like acceptable for me for higher rate of return.
Interesting. Because he say that the rationale based on what he provide me is that he find the marginal increase in return with respect to the marginal increase of risk, right? Because this will be something here, okay? Let's say that he say, this one has a lower risk. Okay, so you have high return, you definitely choose this one. But when it comes to here, he say that 2.88 increased by 0.26 from 2.62, and this one increased by 0.2. This one also increased by 0.2 from the previous allocation, but the marginal increase of risk is higher, right? So we choose this one. Oh, so it's quite rational. Okay, but do you have maybe other option you choose? Do you have other option? Do you have your own opinion? Please, maybe come before you listen to him. What is your thinking? Can you tell? It doesn't mean he is correct because what I asked you, there is no correct answer. Okay, it depends on the angle you would like to put more weight on it. Okay. So, do you have any other idea? Please tell me other ideas. No? Really? Because if I am going to choose, maybe that I may choose this portfolio. I don't know. I may choose this portfolio. And the main reason that I choose this portfolio is because this portfolio has the lowest risk. So it's okay, great, the lowest risk. Even though I don't have much return, but that portfolio has the lowest risk. But I'm also happy with that. So I may come up with this kind of solution.
It should be.
Or sometimes you can also come up with the other idea that you may come up with some new indicator. Let's say you have return dy by SD. Because you would like to get the highest return as possible and lowest SD as possible, right? Then in this case, you will choose the portfolio that give this number the highest, right? The portfolio that give the highest value of this indicator, I will choose it because the highest return, lowest risk, right? So let's say I may calculate it by divide by 4, okay, and then I drag down. Again, I also come up with this portfolio. Okay, I say that I choose 70-30 because this portfolio also has the lowest risk. This portfolio also has the highest return to risk. I may choose this portfolio. It depends on your criteria. Okay. And it doesn't mean that there will only be just only 3 methods like this. Okay, Sometimes you may come up with something that, hey, I want to choose this portfolio because this portfolio give me the highest return. I don't care much about risk. I am okay with that risk. I care more about return. So maybe you can choose that one as well. Okay. But anyway, now if I draw the graph, okay, let's say if I draw the graph, and my graph is the graph between risk and return. The x-axis is the risk. Oh no, is the risk. The y-axis is the return. Oh, what happened? The risk axis is the risk. The y-axis is the return. Then, so maybe you can draw the graph like this. And let's say if I change the format of axis, I put 0. Okay. So what I have here is the diagram that gives you return and risk. Okay? Because in the beginning of this lecture, I write a graph compare between return and risk, right? Okay? And then based on this portfolio, then you can have 11 portfolio here. 11 point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay? You have here 100% investment in CPF. Okay? CPF have this risk and have this return. PTT has this risk and has this return. That is the 100% invest in either stock, right? Okay? And the rest is the portfolio of other combinations. Okay? Now, if you plot the graph like this, you will definitely know that you are not going to invest in these three portfolio. Because if you choose these three portfolio, you are stupid. Very stupid. Why? Because this portfolio give you low return compared to the other portfolio, even though it has the same risk. Okay. So this is what I want to say to you, that this is the diversification. Diversification gives you higher return with respect to the same risk. Okay, you can only find this portfolio if you do diversification. Okay, so this three portfolio is not the portfolio you want to invest. You will only choose the portfolio on this line, okay, on the top line. But anyway, different person come up with different decision. And because this graph is the return and sigma, I also tell you that everyone has what? Indifference curve, right? If you are going to choose the asset you are going to invest, you need to ask yourself, okay? Or you need to ask someone that can look into your brain and see what is the mathematics in your brain, okay? And then you have indifference curve. What you need to do is that you just have to draw your indifference curve, draw indifference curve, draw indifference curve. Actually, everyone would like to achieve this point, right? But apparently, there is just not no asset that can provide you at that point. Okay? So the best you can have, the utility is maybe around this area. So if your utility curve is like this, the black line, you will choose this portfolio. Okay. That is why I say it doesn't mean that you will choose this yellow one. It doesn't mean that you will choose this gray one. It doesn't mean that you will choose this one. It can be anything. It depends on your indifference curve. Let's say that is the other person. The indifference curve is like this. The red one we choose the portfolio here, right? Because that portfolio gives the highest utility. Okay? So this is how you choose the portfolio. But before you can choose it, you need to form a portfolio. Okay? So after you learn this lecture, I hope that when you make some investment, you may do something like this. Okay? So that you can decide, okay, if you have 1 million, I am going to invest 700,000 baht in CPF and I will reinvest 300,000 baht in PTT, something like that. Okay? So you can improve your decision when you make investment. Okay. Okay. Now, so let's have a break. Let's have a break.
How to get SD in the real world?
How to get SD in the real world? Oh, this is very interesting question. And actually, let's say, let me connect to the internet. Okay. And in order to get the SD in the real world, you need to, the things the bond market. But anyway, this is what I just taught in the beginning of this class. Okay, the bond market, most fear is beginning to happen because the yield curve is inverted. Okay, of that. But anyway, now, if you want to know what is the SD in the real world, then let me download the price data. Okay, and the easiest way I can download the price data is that I use the Yahoo Finance. Okay, Yahoo Finance gives you the historical price data for any stock. Let's say I want to find the historical price data of PTT. Then I type PTT there on the top. PTT, and then I find the PTT in Thailand, PTT.bk. Okay, I click at it, and then I have PTT stock, and then I download historical data. Then when I want to find the SD, I may want to collect the data for maybe 5 years. Let me click 5 years. 5 years, then done. And let's say if I find the price data on a daily basis, I click apply. Okay, and then I click download the data. Then I click open. Then I got the price data of PTT 5 years before, right? This year is 2018, 5 years before is 2013. Okay. And then now I find what is going to be the price. Okay, let's say this is the stock price. Okay, the closing price. Okay, the closing price. Let's now at first let's focus in this column. Okay, this is the closing price. Then what you need to find is that you need to find return, right? Because what we care is return. When we find return, return is equal to what? Return is equal to stock price today minus stock price yesterday divided by stock price yesterday, right? This is return. Okay, and let's say if I move it here so that I can double click. So you have daily return. Okay. Now, then you can find the expected return of PTT to be equal to the average of that daily. This is the expected return of PTT over the past 5 years, which is equal to 0.06%. Okay, and I can also find the SD of SD. Okay, the SD is equal to standard deviation. Okay, standard deviation of that daily. Okay, so you have this standard deviation, which is equal to 1.76%. Okay, this is how you get expected return and SD of PTT. But anyway, this expected return is the expected return of what? Of is in yearly basis or in what? Daily, right? Then you also need to convert this into yearly if you want to compare. If you want to make decision, then you have this term multiplied by what? Convert to yearly. Maybe multiplied by 360. Okay? But anyway, in this case, I will multiply by 250. Because I may assume that in a given year there are 250 trading days. Okay, because we would like to remove Saturday and Sunday. Then we enter. Okay, so we have that PTT has the expected return in a given year on average 14%. And then when it comes to SD, we are not going to multiply by 250, but we will multiply by square root of 250. Okay, just specify a little bit. Okay, because the reason that we multiply by square root 250 comes from the fact that when we find the SD, we cannot use the SD and then multiply by something, because what we need to do is that we need to find the variance of everything. Okay, that is why we need to do the square root of 250. So this is the SD of PTT. Okay. And if you have got this term, then if you draw the distribution, it means that on average PTT will give you 14.66%. But sometimes it can be a very large positive, or maybe 50%. Or sometimes it can be a very large negative, maybe negative 15%, something like that. Depends on the sigma, right? Okay. So this is how you come up with expected return in this D. Okay. So you do this, collect the data of the stock you want to invest, then you can calculate return and SD. But please bear in mind that when you do this way, the return and the SD is the SD and return of what? Of historical return. Okay, but when we invest with the expectation about future return. So, please aware that if you assume the future will be like the past, then you can use this number. But if you think the future will be different from the past, this number cannot be used. Okay, you may need to come up with something in your head, and then you want to change this number based on what you feel. Okay, but people normally start with this number, the historical number first, and then make some adjustment from that historical number based on your guns. Okay, okay. So let's have a break. And I think based on the time we have, I want everyone to come back at 8:10. Okay, otherwise we will not have time to